No one knew what to say to a ghost who wrote better than they spoke. 2 days later, they began looking for Sejun. Information came in fragments: a technical college in Mapo, a part-time job at a bookstore, a dorm room shared with 2 others. Myung-ho insisted on going alone at first, but Yoon-jung overruled him. "If he sees you, he'll think you want to buy him," she said. "And what do you think he'll think of you?" "That his grandmother sent me." They took the subway together, sitting on opposite ends of the car like strangers joined by coincidence. The train rocked through tunnels, filled with advertisements for phone plans and winter coats. Somewhere between stations, Yoon-jung caught her brother's reflection in the glass, older, smaller, haunted by the arithmetic of regret. The bookstore sat behind the college gates, a narrow shop that smelled of ink and noodles from the stall next door. A young man was stacking philosophy texts on a ladder, humming a tune from the radio. He had their father's shoulders, and their mother's way of pausing before laughter. "Sejun?" she asked. He turned, surprised but polite. "Yes." She hesitated. "I'm Yoon-jung." "You're..." She stopped. "No title fit. Your grandmother's daughter." The sound of grandmother changed his posture. He climbed down slowly. "She's gone, isn't she?" Yoon-jung nodded. "She wanted you to have something." He looked at Myung-ho then, recognition tightening his jaw. "You don't have to do this," he said flatly. "She already gave me everything she could." "We're not here to buy forgiveness," Yoon-jung said. "Only to deliver her message." She took out the letter and handed it to him. He read in silence. When he reached the line about 7 bowls, his mouth trembled. He folded the paper carefully and slipped it into his pocket. "I used to count too," he said. "When she came over, she'd make enough food for an army, and then pack the leftovers like we were soldiers. She said family eats until the pot apologizes." Yoon-jung smiled through tears. "That sounds like her." "She said she had 6 children," Sejun added. "I guess now I know why she smiled when she said 6. He looked again at Myung-ho. "You don't have to explain." She already did. "She said fathers get scared sometimes." Myung-ho couldn't answer. He only nodded once, an awkward, collapsing gesture of gratitude. Sejun continued, gentler. "I don't want the house. Give it to someone who needs it. She helped me enough." "That's what she wanted for the 3rd one," Yoon-jung said. "You'd make her proud." He laughed softly. "She already made me proud." When they left the shop, the afternoon sun was low, cutting the street into halves, light and shadow. Myung-ho stopped on the curb. "I thought today would end me," he said. "Instead it feels like a beginning." Yoon-jung slipped her arm through his. "Then let's start walking." That weekend, all 6 siblings met again at the oldest house, the one with the slanted roof and the persimmon tree that still refused to die. They brought boxes of takeout instead of flowers. The tape recorder sat in the center of the living room table, like an honored guest. Yoon-jung pressed play one last time. The voice rose, filled the house, threaded through the cracked wallpaper and into the wood beams. "One house for my boy. One house to share. One house for those without houses." When the tape clicked off, the silence that followed was no longer heavy. It felt like soil after rain, ready. They drew up their own list. House 1 gifted to Sejun in name, but used as a literacy center he'd run. House 2 kept by the family jointly as a gathering place. House 3 donated to fund Mal Sun's home, a shelter for elderly tenants evicted from small apartments. No one argued. The pens moved as if guided. Later, in the yard, Sujin lit incense. The smoke spiraled upward, carrying the scent of sandalwood and forgiveness. "She'd complained that we took too long," she said. Kil-soo grinned. "She'd also complained that we did it without her supervision." They laughed, and the laughter startled birds from the persimmon tree. The fruit hung like small suns, stubborn against the season. Inside, Myung-ho lingered by the tape player. He rewound it to the very beginning, pressed play again, and whispered along with the first line. "Don't hate him." He finally understood. She hadn't said it only for herself. She'd meant the part of him that still feared love. Weeks later, the first repairs began on the donated house. Sejun and Kil-soo painted walls. Yoon-jung handled permits. Sujin managed donations with the precision of an accountant, and the tenderness of a daughter trying to balance 2 kinds of inheritance. They named the place Mal Sun's Shadow House, half joking, half faithful. A sign by the door read, "Here, shadows find light." On the opening day, they played the cassette over the speakers. Neighbors paused, volunteers wiped eyes they hadn't meant to. When the tape ended, children clapped without knowing why. Yoonjung looked at her siblings gathered in the courtyard, the same faces that had once glared across a lawyer's table, and felt the ache transform into something gentler. Maybe this was what their mother had meant all along. Not the houses, but the room they could still build inside one another. She looked up at the fading evening sky, half blue, half rose, and whispered the final line from the tape under her breath altogether. For the first time, it sounded less like instruction and more like completion. Chapter 4: The Hidden Account. For a few brief weeks, peace felt almost plausible. The siblings called each other by name again instead of obligation. The houses had destinations, the arguments had furniture. Every weekend, the Mal Sun shadow house, filled with hammering and paint, and the neighbors began to wave when the family cars appeared. Even the old persimmon tree seemed to approve its leaves, staying longer than the season allowed, as if reluctant to close a chapter. Yoonjung carried a thermos of barley tea wherever she went. It had become her way of holding the past warm, portable, necessary. She watched her brother Kilsu teaching Sejun how to sand a window frame and thought, maybe this is what forgiveness sounds like, a rasp that smooths edges, but peace, like freshly poured cement, always hides cracks before they set. It began with a phone call from the bank. "This is Shinan Branch Yonsu," the woman said politely. "We're finalizing the transfer of your late mother's assets. Could you verify which account should receive the balance from the Mal Sun Trust book?" Yoonjung frowned. "I'm sorry, which book?" "The supplementary account under her name. It lists for donation in the notes. Balance 172 million. Yoonjung's breath caught. Their mother hadn't had that kind of money, at least not that anyone had known. The bank employee continued, unaware she had just rewritten the family story. "We'll need signatures from all beneficiaries before the month's end." Yoonjung thanked her, wrote down the details, and hung up. The paper trembled slightly in her hand. Outside the window, the afternoon light tilted too bright for comfort, too late for ignorance. That evening, the family gathered again at the house that had become their accidental headquarters. Dust and laughter hung together in the air, both smelled of work. When Yoonjung told them about the bank book, the room changed temperature. "Another account?" Sujin asked, incredulous. "I thought we'd found everything." "So did I." Yoonjung slid the note across the table. 172 million. Marked for donation. "Donation to what?" My Ongho asked. "Or to whom?" She didn't say. The silence that followed was not distrust, it was fatigue. They had already climbed the mountain of secrets. Once no one wanted to find another peak behind it. "Maybe it's for Mal Sun House," Kilsu suggested. She planned ahead. Yoonjung shook her head. "The account predates the shelter by 2 years. She opened it in 2023. Then who was she helping?" Young, he asked. "That's what we have to find out." The next morning Yoonjung returned to the old apartment. It was empty now, but emptiness has its own inventory curtains that still hang in their habits. A calendar stuck on the month of departure, a mirror that keeps expecting someone else's reflection. She began with the closet and moved methodically, drawer by drawer. Her mother had been a meticulous hoarder of small-order elastic bands, tax receipts, buttons from coats long donated. When Yoonjung opened the linen drawer, a small metal key slid out and clinked onto the floor. Attached was a tag, yellow with time blue box safe. She found the box at the bottom of a cabinet. Inside lay a bank passbook, its edges soft from handling, and a note in her mother's hand. "If they find this, tell them love can save money too." Yoonjung sat down on the floor. The passbook listed regular deposits of 500,000 every month for 6 years, withdrawals to the same account number noted as D Shelter Project. She Googled it on her phone. A listing appeared: Dian Shelter for Single Mothers, established 2023, Incheon. Her heart stuttered. Single mothers, her own mother, widow, worker, secret guardian of her son's unspoken shame, had been funding a refuge for women who were her mirror. She texted the others, found where the money went. "You need to see this." The building stood on a narrow street between a flower shop and a laundry service. A faded sign read Dian Mother's Home, hope in every room. The director, a woman in her 50s with a kind but tired face, met them at the door.